This is Juman Lighthouse, and to work as a keeper here you will get $1.2 million every year. Here you will get 250,000 rupees for just one day, and in this job you don't have any owner and no restrictions. You can sleep whenever you want, see the surrounding and catch fish, and instead of so much money you have to do only this much work that the lights on this lighthouse should not go out, which is not a difficult job, isn't it? But before dreaming about this job, wait a little. Despite being only 300 meters away from the French island of Lausanne, Juman Lighthouse has no keeper since the last 33 years, since the year 1991, and still no one wants to work here. Even if someone is given double salary for this job, still he won't do this job. But why? Why Juman Lighthouse is so dangerous? And forget Juman, most of the lighthouses in the world are so dangerous. When you will hear some dangerous stories and stories related to the lighthouse, then you will get answers to all these questions. Welcome to Sino. This year is after 1873. At that time the world's largest ship, SS Atlantic, was moving ahead in the North Atlantic Ocean. It was a very modern and safe ship whose sinking risk was almost negligible. But when Atlantic was on its 19th voyage, then one night suddenly there was a thick fog in the atmosphere. Because of the fog, Atlantic's crew could not see anything in front of them, and a little far from the Atlantic shore a small rock collided with the Atlantic. This collision was ordinary, but it caused such a damage to the ship that it sank into the water. More than half of the passengers on board were killed, a loss of crores of dollars, and the company that made this ship, White Star Line, reached the shore of Kongali. And why did all this happen? We know just because a lighthouse is not visible. If Atlantic's crew could see the lighthouse on the nearby island, then the biggest maritime disaster of the 19th century could have been avoided, but this did not happen. Now think that this is only 150 years old. Humans have been traveling in water for about 8,000 years, and during this time sailors on ships had neither a GPS nor a compass for thousands of years. These sailors calculated the position of the sun and stars and kept looking for the way. And during this time in the ancient world it used to happen that the captain would go to the sea with his crew, and suddenly there was a storm at night which clouded the sky, and the captain did not know the way by which the ship collided with the rocks and sank into the sea, or he got lost in the endless ocean. There are thousands of such stories in history where in the dark of the night the ship sank, and in the ancient world most of the civilization was based on sea trade, so in front of the kings of that time it was a big problem. And at the same time in this story, the city of Egypt, Alexandria, takes the entry. Alexandria was a coastal city and there was a lot of sea trade here, but the problem was that the port of Alexandria looked something like this. There were big rocks here which often collided with the ships arriving at night. This is a story of 280 BC. At this time, Egypt was under the rule of Ptolemy, and he somehow wanted to solve the problem of Alexandria, so he asked for help from a very big Greek architect, Sostratus of Canada. Sostratus, at the behest of the king, designed a very big tower. This tower was so big that by the time it was built, Otratus' son Ptolemy II had become the king. This tower, built on the Pharaoh's island of Alexandria, was the first lighthouse in the world, as the Pharaoh of Alexandria was also called. This unique example of engineering was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The height of this tower was 384 feet, and in the whole world only the Great Pyramid of Giza was taller than this. Pharaoh of Alexandria may be the world's first lighthouse, but it was very different from the modern lighthouse. It was a kind of high chimney. Obviously there was no electricity at that time, that's why the seats of this lighthouse were always lit with wood, which was supplied with continuous fuel and wood. But the problem here was that the light through the fire was very weak, and the ship coming from miles away did not get help. That's why Sostratus, using his genius mind, put some mirror and lens combination on the top of this lighthouse by which this light could be reflected and could be seen from miles away. After the pharaohs of Alexandria there were very few incidents on the coast of Alexandria, after which in many ancient coastal cities such lighthouses were built, in which for light oil lamp, gas lamp, wood and candle were used, but no lighthouse was like today's lighthouse. After the world's first lighthouse, about 1900 years in the 17th century, a proper lighthouse was built in Ireland. About 100 years later, that is, in the 18th century, parabolic reflector was used in these lighthouses, which was a revolutionary step. And the most interesting thing is that this reflector was made by a normal glass cutter, Thomas Rogers. Thomas gave the idea, why not put a spherical glass mirror by which the light could be reflected and could go far. This idea of Rogers worked, and in many lighthouses in Europe such spherical mirrors were installed, but there was a problem. These Rogers lenses absorbed a lot of light and were not so efficient. At the same time, a French physicist, Augustin-Jean Fresnel, in 1811, Napoleon Bonaparte made a commission of lighthouses whose purpose was to make lighthouse technology efficient. Fresnel was the secretary of this commission. He made a special kind of lens which is called Fresnel lens. Fresnel lens was thin compared to Rogers lens, and there were some special cuts in it by which the light coming out of the lamp, which was spread earlier, could be focused in a particular direction. This was probably the biggest invention even today. Most of the lighthouses use this kind of lens. Over time, human civilization for light electricity spread from fire, and the light bulb was invented in 1934. Donegady Lighthouse of Ireland became the world's first electric lighthouse. Now if we go back to the beginning of our story, that is the most dangerous lighthouse in the world towards Juman Lighthouse, then this lighthouse is the world's loneliest. That is the lonely place. When you work here, then you will be alone, and the most terrifying thing is that when sea storms occur, then around this lighthouse hundreds of high waves rise which completely cover it, and often the keeper has to be rescued in this way, and this storm can come in any month of the year. That is, there is a constant risk of death here. Although today most of the lighthouses in the world are automated and there is no need for any kind of keeper, Juman Lighthouse has no keeper for the past 30 years and it operates automatically. Most of the lighthouses in the world are built on an island or on a rock in the middle of the sea, which is very dangerous. See these photos of some lighthouse rescue operations. Will you still work here? Hope you like this video. Don't forget to like the video, and to watch such interesting videos, subscribe to this channel and also click on the bell icon. Take good care of yourself. See you in the next interesting video.